Oh yeah, it's a rainy night in Key West. So I'm underneath my tent in the backyard listening to the rain fall. Kind of sweet. It's been off and on, but there's a little tree kind of above me, or it's the roof. Put little drips on the roof for me. But listen, you guys, if you're new here to this channel, my name is Rick Worth, and what I do is, aside from being an artist, I spend a good part of my time researching our Bible, and in ways that just blow my mind, you know, and in ways that I put a code to it of the 1 through 9. I've learned of this code through various places in my life and times and people online. I'm not the only one that knows the number system. You know, it's a numeral system of from 1 through 9. One beginning with God as being 1 and ending at 9 as a particular consciousness. And then, of course, then it all starts all over again with 1. You know, number 10 becomes 1, 11 becomes 2, and stuff like that. Oh, you can hear me over those raindrops. Let me see so I don't cut us off. So, anyways, I have been batting around, but what I've been batting around the Bible, so to speak. But I've spent a lot of time in Matthew. It's probably one of my favorites, one of the ones that I know the most. And so, you know, during this last little quest of mine, when I was looking up all the different disciples and apostles that there are out there, and putting them in line and finding out that they weren't showing the Kundalini so much, but what they were representing was the body itself. It was a 5 that they were representing, and they represent what is the skin. All right, and the multitudes, all right, and what would become the real you, you know, the real you. But all of these things are in duo modes. There's the animal mode, and there's another mode. There's the physical side of you, and then there's the spiritual side of you. So there's a part that you see and something that you don't see. But anyways, as you get going, I'm on right now. I've found something that was really cool, where Jesus heals a crazy man from his demons. All right, this is the one where he makes the demons go into pigs, right, into swine, and then they're all drowned. All right, you know. I was having a conversation with an idiot today who says that was. I just asked him if he knew what where's this guy come from? This crazy guy to come back where he came from. It was like it's a funny name. It was like Decapodia or something like that. A decap. I can't find it right now, but I will. Here it is. Decapolis. 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 That's where he goes after he's, you know, changed over when they had the demon taken off. And I just can't help it but keep seeing. They say because it says DEC that it's the 10th city, and when I see Decapolis and knowing what I mean, in meditation what it means to be decapitated, I can't help it but he ran around in this town decapitated, telling everybody what a great thing Jesus did for him. You know, I mean, it's a fun play with the words, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were talking about. All right, he was running around in Decapolis, you know, little headless man. But the way the code works out, also because there's like sets. There's sets of 1, 2, and 3, which is an intervention, and it also sets up the story. And so there's also the number 4. If you find something that's lining up in 4s, you can almost be assured that that's talking about worlds, and that's 4 different scriptures, but they just happen to represent, you know, the different parts, because these stories, you're in a place where you're traveling, you know, they're traveling from west to east in these stories, and especially in this one here in Mark. When we get to chapter 5, and 5 again is going to be about the skin, the sacrifice, and so it's going to tell you about, what's going on with the skin. What's wrong with you? Why is the skin considered unclean? And why do we have to slip out of our skin in order to go over into heaven? And so, aside from that meaning that you have to hate yourself, and when you come over to the other side, you're a child, that answers 2 parables that are that are kind of, these are Jesus's commands, But you'll see that, what we show is that I teach the spirit of the Bible, which is what you can't see, and it's the underside, which, it's written there. You can see it once someone teaches you how to listen and hear for it. But if you want to listen, and if you want to believe on the outside or the top of the Bible, then this will be a ride for you, because there'll be things you've never heard of before. I mean, even though I'm talking right off the Bible, all right? But anyways, so there's sets of 4s that come in, and because this is about 5, so does the sets of 5. 5 would represent different parts of your body. Boom, 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 to 5, and it's about this sacrifice of ours, all right? So a bunch of times, so what we're talking about is traveling. We're traveling whenever here, let's just get going on this, because these things can become really long, and then I'll just explain it as we go. But anyways, this is Mark 5, and it starts off, of course, with 1, but it starts off actually as being 4 worlds. So we're going to go from west, which is our skin, which is the country. When they talk about country and city, stuff like that, country, they're talking about the outside of us. When we're going back to the country, that's when we're outside of the boat. Or when we're back inside of the boat, that is. When we're back inside of ourselves, we'll now go back to your country. That's all right, everybody go back to your country, go back to your home. All right, everybody go back to where they belong. All right, and even your spirit comes back because you come back into yourself. All right. So anyways, we're going from the intellect, which is the west side of us, and we're going over to the right side, which is the east. So we have to go through a little bit of emotional challenge, which is the north, and we have to go through a physical challenge, which is the south. All right, and today all of these have been going west, north, south, and east. All right, north and south. North is your emotions. These are different parts of your body. These are things that have to be in sync, and it pretty much will tell you what kind of consciousness you're in once you get to the 4th side. Once you get to the east, whatever is in that 4th that 4th verse, it's going to describe a particular way of life for you, all right? But it's going to also be 1, 2, and 3, which would be like the intervention, but it's really not. You have to understand that there's 2 sides to these stories, and other than parent ones, the idea is that there's a duality. So even in our number systems, they can go on the negative side, or they can go on the positive side. And see, what we're doing is we're going to be coming right into being introduced to someone that is negative. And he's brought to before the Lord, and he's going to change. And by the time the end of this story comes about, this monster, something's going to be asking to be with it. And so that'll end up as a 1, 2, and a 3 on the end when he joins up with them. And then another story begins. But this is all about, this is about the skin. How are we going to make the skin better? What are we going to do? What do we have to do? And of course, I've talked to you so much about mother and father. Mother and father is used in this. The daughter, the damsel. Remember the damsel that took John's head, the Baptist's head? She's the one that asked for it. It was her mother's request. But it was the damsel that had to bring it back and forth. And I told you that was a positive story. because everything was become good. You had to lose this in order to make it over to the other side. Just like Jesus Christ's death or murder is a good thing, because when you kill yourself, when you pass over and come out as this child on the other side, the new you and the new mind and new wine and the new wineskin come along as gifts for following Jesus' way. And of course, that is in completion with the law that Moses gives us. So let's get on this, all right? And you'll see if you got it. I want you to lend your ear to this, all right? Oh. Mark chapter 5, all right, which is our body. Okay. And they came, all right, listen, all right. And they came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gardines. I'm just going to say Gardinis, all right? And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwellings among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains. And the chains, he has been plucked, something about he's in the shit. The chains has been plucked us under by him, and the fetters broken in places, broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're going to go that way. We're also going to do that 1, 2, 3. But the idea is that in this Gardines, it says it's like a walled place. All right, and so this would be the wall that's actually built around the south. This is a demon. This is a dark guy. An unclean spirit. So this is talking about the lower mind, okay? And he's been walled off from the outside world, heaven, okay? And so his dwelling is among the tombs. These are dead people. When people are not connected to the Lord, if they are unclean spirits, that's what they call it. And most people on earth are unclean spirits because they choose to be disconnected by believing in religion, who says they'll be connected when they're dead or when some big catastrophic thing happens. Maybe they'll get taken along with them. But this idea of not being able to be tamed this is a wild animal that they're talking about. But later on, when you hear him talk, he's like, oh, and thou shalt tell me down to go. He's got this really, I would say maybe he's got a British accent or something like that. But, he has a pretty good use of semantics for a wild man, which is something you're supposed to recognize as well, all right? But anyways, what he found is that he started off, and they came to a place called this Gardines. So this we're going to call that the West, because he's coming to places. He's coming out of this ship, and he's going to places around their little world there. And so when he's in the ship, he's in a meditation thing. So when he comes out of these ships, then he's back into real life. And then now he's just met this crazy guy. All right. Now they're going to go on. Oh, and so what it does is then meeting up with him, they find that this guy was always been, he dwells, his skin, he dwells among the tombs, and no man can bind him, no, not with no chains. And then the eastern side, when you finally get to know what is his spiritual side, it's because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains. He's always been pulled down, and now he just has had enough of it all, and he's just a raging beast, all right? All right, so now it starts off, now it's going to end, the rest of this is going to be skin, all right? It's 5. And it says, and always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs crying and cutting himself with stones. That's the number 5. Alright. But when he saw Jesus far off, he ran and worshipped him. It's number 6. This is on the top of the ladder when you can look and see a distance. It's going to show up a minute later on, okay? But anyways, on that 6th rung, on the 6th number, that's the top of the ladder. This is when you can look and you see the desolation and all that stuff, you know. This is that spot where you get to see things. Is on number 6, okay? So here we are, and on 7, it says, and he cried with a loud voice and said, what to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? This is it. I adjure thee, thy God, that thou torment me not. Alright, so this is a pretty smart sounding little demon, right? For he said unto him, come out of that man, thou unclean spirit. That's number 4. And he asked him, what is thy name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. Alright, that winds up on number 9. We're going to stop there for a second. Some people would get like some kind of a chill run up their bone when they hear that. It's like when you ask that guy, that show where that girl turns her head around and around and around and stuff, The Exorcist. You know, who are you? Legion, for we are many. You know, ooh, that kind of freaks you out. But what you will find is that this is our lower mind, and whenever we finally get our lower mind, we actually become we inherit multitudes of people that are us as well. So at the same time, before this happens, if you haven't had it happen, then all of these guys, there are many of them. There's a lot of bad, and someone that has never been clean before. You know, they run side by side with each other. One side always wins out. All right, and that's usually the left side that wins. All right, because Cain always kills Abel. That's the way it goes. But anyways, it all lands on the number 9. The first 9 is the number for consciousness. So what does it sound like? Does it sound like a negative side of consciousness, or does it sound like the positive side of consciousness? So it says, here it is. And he asked him, what is thy name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. So his consciousness is definitely of the lower side. Alright, so let's keep moving, because this is a change. Because this is the idea of knowing what the code is. On the side of this verses that are going on, the 10, 11, 12, and 13, it's another 4 setting up. And so it's going to tell you what the state of this mind is. That he just met this guy. Alright? So 10, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright? 10, which is where he comes from, the west. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. So not out of the country, out of the skin. So that's really the west. Alright? Now, there was nigh unto the mountain a great herd of swine feeding. This is 2, and that also means to the north. They're up the mountain. Over there on the mountainside, there's a bunch of swine, and they're feeding. They're not feeding from the lower. They're feeding from the side of the mountain. Alright? So what happens is then, and all the devils besought him, praying, send us into the swine, so that we might enter into them. And so that's representing the 3rd phase, or the 3rd world, which is our skin. So our skin was asking, sacrifice me, send me over there, you know, send me over. Let me occupy them, all right, the them, the you, the many, right? And what do we get out of it? And for with this Jesus gave them leave. And the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000 and were choked in the sea. All right, there's another thing for cutting your head off. All right, they were choked. Think about that. How many, those Egyptians are drowned in the water, and Moses is, and that was a Moses story, but Noah, everyone is drowned, everyone is drowned. You just have to understand that that's the second stage of consciousness, and, and generally, the water means truth, okay? So that was a whole nother set of worlds, all right? So now the man is on the right side. Oh man, I gave it up, unless you know the story, all right? So what do we get out of this? We get a whole nother set of worlds. All right, and let's see, it says, and they that fed the swine fled, fled and told it to the city and in the country. And they went out to see what was all done. What was done. Let me tell you, this Bible is not easy to write or read, but it's the only one that's got all these words in it. So this is representing the West again, the consciousness side of our bodies, because here they are, those that fed this thing, it's your conscious side of you. They went and told it in the city and in the county, or in the country. So they're talking about the outside of us. This is on the outside. All right. Let's go to the north. It says, and they came to Jesus and seen that he was. Oh, this is what it says here. Now, here is, I think what it is, they're talking about the scene here. And they come to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devil and had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right mind. All right? So here they are. They've come in. These people are coming in, and they see Jesus, and they see with him this possessed guy who used to be possessed with, sitting right there beside Jesus. Clothed. My goodness. All right. So this is because it's really your emotions that cause this whole thing to happen. So we're going to give that to the north. All right. In the south, and saying they that saw it told them how it befell him that was possessed. Yeah, what befell him that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. Remember, we're the swine. Or the skin. So that winds up being number 16. 16 is the number 7. Told how it befell. So this telling of it all, this is number 7. And it is also the south, our skin. It's telling it all. It's that part. All right. The south. We got one more world to go through. And they began to pray him depart out of their coast. So he's time to leave their coast, all right? And so that is the east. He's told to leave, so he's gone. But he's done all this good stuff, all right? And when he'd come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed that he might be with him. That's number 9. It ends with number 9, east. I think that's the one. Is that the one that's supposed to be the east? I'm not sure how it goes right now. Unless it's starting up a whole new bunch, but I'm going to try to get away from that. And when he was come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. That's number 9. That's his consciousness. so whoever it was that was possessed with the devil now prayed that Jesus be with them, or that he be with Jesus. And so this is what happens when the two combine together, all right? And that's the consciousness that it winds up with on number 9, which is 18. All right? All these numbers freak me out. And so Jesus says, howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done to thee, and hath compassion on thee. I calls this the North. And he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him. And all the men did marvel. And I call that one the South. All the men did marvel. He's gone back to himself, you know. But anyways, let's see. And when Jesus was passed over again by ship unto the other side, when they talk about the other side of this water, the other side of this water, all right, the seashore, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea, all right? So he's always unto the sea, so now he's on the east side. This stops that story with the crazy old guy. He's finally made it all the way from the west to the east, and now he's with the Lord, all right? And it's a good thing. He's chased the demon away. Now, when they said that they didn't want to be cast from this, they didn't get cast. You know, there was a story that I told you. There was that fight between those Hindu kings, you know, and Krishna blasted him with his arrows, and he fell into the sea, you know, and that got rid of their little demon. They all fall into the sea. They all get buried underwater, and they're being suffocated by the truth, you know. And that's what happens with the lower mind when you go into this other side. And this is again just talking about our mind, Earth, our five senses, what we have to take, the 5 wounds of Christ, in order to make it over to this other side. And generally what it is to restore the temple. And generally in our sense, what's broken in our temple is, first off, the knowledge, which would be the seed, and the sowing, has not been correct for many years, for centuries. It's been deflected to the surface of the Bible. But you'll find that we've learned that it's really on the inside. When you sow those seeds on the inside, something great happens. So, I know when I talked about the sowing of the seeds the other day, that one that said it came about by the stone, I'm not sure that that was a good one. I said that if it came by the stone, your knowledge came by the stone, that it was good. But I think what happens is, in that particular thing, it's still raised. It didn't have any kind of earthly influence at all. So it sprang up really fast, you know, which sounded like a positive thing, but when it withered away, it just died. And so what we have to do is we're actually restoring. We're seeds that come in fruit. So we're not really looking to be destroyed, you know, have our one moment of glory and it's all over. They're expecting a bunch of moments of glory, all right? So what happens, excuse me, I also wanted to bring into this number 21, which represents 3, all right, which is this whole idea of the Passover, okay? So what we get is, and when Jesus was passed over again by ship, I want you to understand, unto the other side, you have to understand that is the ship. This idea would be like, you know, Noah's Ark. And these ships that people talk about is you. It's your body. You're the vessel in this group. All right. Okay, and it says, and behold, there came one of the rulers of the synagogue, and he had some name, Zacchaeus or something, Zacchaeus, maybe that's his name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet. This is number 22. And besought him greatly, saying, "Oh, my daughter lieth in the path of death." You know? Is that what it says, in the path of death? She's at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that they may, so that she may be healed, and she shall live. All right. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him, and they thronged him. Let's get one more. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood for 12 years. This ends up being on number 25. I have to end it there. I know this is long, but I have to end it there. Watch this. Watch this. This is another 4 worlds, because it's a new story. All right. And so what we get here, we get, and behold, comes one of the rulers of the synagogue. All right. And what he is, this means, this is one giving light. This guy's name means one giving light. He that will enlighten. All right. This is Zaius or something like that. You can look it up. You know. But anyways, this is the West. They're talking about he's coming from the West, all right? Because anytime they're coming from the outside world, this is the West, our intellect, the intellectual side. And he besought him greatly, saying, "My daughter." So this is number 2. The women in this group is going to be our emotions. Especially his daughter. She's the damsel. She's the damsel. Watch how all this works. If you guys got the ears to hear, you'll have a great time. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed. So this was number 6. The skin, this is our physical side. So they're all following him, And then when they get to this east side, some woman, which had an issue with blood for 12 years. So 12 becomes 3. It's a positive sign. And her issue with the blood is an issue with her spirit. That's what that means. Blood is spirit, and just happens to be E. E, our eastern side, is our spirituality. So that's where she shows up. Okay? You're about to find out, Mom and Dad, and this dove, this damsel. All right? It's really beautiful. And it's the marriage. It's all of that stuff. So here's the West, and she had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. So this is her. This is her story. This is the West. And she had heard of Jesus. She came in the press behind, and touched his garment. This is the North, all right? She had heard of Jesus. She came in the press behind. Now, it's some weird writing, but that idea of the press, she went in. She went under to visit Jesus, all right? Touching the garment of him would heal her blood, all right? So what happens is, for she said, "If I touch his clothes, I shall be whole." So that's her south, the skin, being healed. And straightway the fountain of blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her plague. And so this is the eastern side of her. So she was healed. This is the mother. This is the mother. All right. They're not coming out and saying this, but this on the way to him to go and take care of this one girl for this guy. This woman pressed up against him to touch him, so that she might be healed. Alright? Remember a woman did that in the last story? Asking about the crumbs and the dogs, and we find out it was because that she persevered, that she begged basically, and you know, her faith was what won her that blessing. So what do we get from here? And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that that virtue had come out of him, turned him about in the press and said, "Who touched me?" And his disciples said to him, "Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and thou sayest, Who touched me?" And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. That's number 5. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. This is number 33, number 6. All right. And he said unto her, "Daughter, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole in thy plague." So you're learning here, this is number 7, number 34. But you'll find that now she's whole and be free from her plague. And the plague is this idea that she had something wrong with her blood. She had something wrong with her spirit. It just wasn't coming back. She was sick. So all of these plagues are something to do with you, and this plague here was about her skin. You know, that's leprosy. That's something wrong with your skin. But this is something that was wrong with their blood. All right. So the mother is healed in this. All right. But let's not do that yet. All right. But I'm showing you how this works. All right. This is just that a woman can get in on this. You know, it's always male, male, male. You know, males aren't the only one. It's about our mind. All right. And as soon as Jesus heard, all right, let's see. Well, this is number 8. And this is 35. While he yet spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue a house, from the synagogue house, certain which said, "Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou, Master, any further?" So, you know, Jesus dallied once before with, you know, whenever he raised that other dead man. And it was like, oh, he's already dead. And he said, oh, come on. He made a big joke out of it, right? As soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he saith unto the ruler of the synagogue, "Be not afraid, only believe." And he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter and James and John, brother of James. And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and them that wept and wailed greatly. I'm going to stop that there. The last 4 were worlds, all right? Jesus was called to come to this guy's house, and now he's in the house, and he's looking at the turmoil. Remember when you can get to that 6th, and this is where we are on here, when you can see the abomination and desolation inside your house, okay? Your house was left desolate, right? You understand? From our last ones. So what we have here, let's back it up here. In the north, as soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he saith unto the ruler of the synagogue, "Be not afraid, only believe." That's the north. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Here, I gotta back it up one more. While he yet spoke, because it's the new story. While he yet spoke, there came a ruler from the synagogue house, certain that said his daughter is dead. Why trouble thou, Master, any further? That's the west. That's our outside. As soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he said unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. That's the north. Alright, that's our emotions. Be not afraid. That's our emotions, the north. He suffered no man to follow him, save Peter and James and John, the brother of James. This is the south. They're talking about us. They're talking about our skin. Alright? And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and them that wept. He's coming to this guy's world in the east, in his spiritual world, and all he sees is turmoil. That's what he sees. He's going to fix that. Alright? And when he was come in, he said unto them, Why make ye this ado, and weep? The damsel is not dead, but asleep. Alright. We're going all the way with 5. We're going on to number 5, but it actually, what happens is we're going through our chakra system now. We've got our first real 7 of the bunch. And it actually starts with, if you wanted to back it up, it starts with he suffered no man. Alright? But as we keep going, we got number 40. And they laughed him, and when he told him, he says, She's not dead, she's just asleep, you know. And they laughed him to scorn. But when he had put them all out, he taketh the father and the mother of the damsel, and them that were with them, and entered into where the damsel was lying. That's number 4. Right? Into her world. Right? Remember, she's in her own little room. And he took the damsel by the hand and said unto her, Talitha cumi, which is being interpreted as damsel, I say unto thee, arise. Alright, so he's talking to 5. He's talking to the body. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was at the age of 12 years. And then were astonished with a great astonishment. Alright, so here we are. We have to say, they said astonishment twice. They were astonished with a great astonishment. Plus the number 12 becomes a 3. Alright. And what do we get out of it? And he shared straight that no man should know it. Oh yeah, and then he commands them to don't tell anybody. Nobody should know anything about this. And that's where it stops. Alright. That name that they called her just meant little girl. I know I talk forever on these things, but it's just so, I don't, it just doesn't come that easy sometimes. But I'm excited to give to you that this, this number system actually does work. And like this one here was really fun to see that what they're doing is they're talking about no one can ever tame this side of our mind. It just keeps talking so much about this side of our brains being kind of like this unbridled monster. And that could not be tamed by anyone. But this thing, had the devil chased out of it, sent it into some swine, and they fall down the hill and drowned in the sea. It's just wonderful storytelling. And that all at the end, they brought the mother and the father and the damsel all together. Alright? Jesus, brings them all together. This is in this idea that now they're one, and before that happened, the woman came in and touched his garment. This idea of the hem, just touching the hem. That's us being just like that woman. She's not dead. She's just asleep, And so with his hand, he woke her up, told her to arise, and straightway Now remember, when they're talking straight way, and they use that word straight way, that's Kundalini. Zoom, they're making way for the Lord. That's making high places low and low places high, or whatever it is, but make straight the path to the Lord. And so it's just that idea of the Kundalini and the chakra system moving on. So this was number 5 about our bodies, and it's talking about what we have to do. And at the very end, it's a very positive thing, that we start off with this wild man at the beginning of 5, but with mother and father and the damsel in place, the skin is on a positive track. It's showing us traveling from one mind to another mind. And so it's the idea of the birth of the new mind. And that's what rapture is this idea of the new you, being reborn, having the new mind, the change of mind. And did you catch that little thing in there where it talked about, they came upon Jesus and this guy that was possessed with the devil sitting there with his clothes on and everything, sitting there just nice and pretty beside him, in his right mind. Do you understand that? That's just really wonderful, and I've been using that as a joke. I never read it like that before. But to think that it was already made as one of those, and we talk about it. Are you in your right mind? If I was in my right mind, I'd do this, Anyways, this has been a long one, you guys. But these are the Gospels. There's a mess of them out there, but we only got 4. But they're all saying the same thing, and this tale of the wild man is also told in Luke. And so there's just a little bit of word change here and there, but it's still basically meaning the same thing. And I like it. I think it's funny how, he just ran all around in decapitation, oh, Jesus, just flopping, just having such a great time. Jesus did such a nice thing for me. So I just wanted to show you a little bit more of the Bible code. It's healthy, saying nice and healthy, and constantly putting something out, So put this on really super fast, we'll get through this pretty good. I don't really do it for video, how pretty it is and stuff like that. But eventually I can write something and I'll have all of these things stored up. I'll probably wind up losing all this stuff, starting off from scratch, thinking that my newest thoughts would be better than my older thoughts. But for right now, they're just my thoughts. And, you've got somebody listening to them or not. Anyways, I love you guys, and best to you. All right? Take care.